Welcome back, guys, to the Beyond Condition podcast, the voice of bodybuilding. You're going to hear this intro twice today. I just wanted to jump on before we delve into today's episode. It is a bonus episode as well, so we are coming in hot on this Wednesday. And I've just posted on Instagram. I have essentially announced my ebook. So I have taken many, many hours to create my first ebook, and it's essentially an ultimate guide to show day. Now, of course, I've been competing for over a decade now, hosting the podcast for over 3 years, and I'm a coach in the space. So I've poured so much into this. It's literally jam-packed to do what it says on the tin, offer you the ultimate show day guide. So this is literally from travel, accommodation, tan, makeup, hair, show day itself, some mindset techniques, mindset in general. I've delved quite a lot into, which is my forte, I would say. I love mindset. And just essentially preparing you for your show. So it does overlap into some prep considerations to some post-show considerations as well. And further on down the line, I will be looking to do a prep ebook and a post-show ebook. But this is my first opportunity to pour essentially what is in this mind and in this body into an ebook. So for anyone that's not on Instagram, of course, if you are, you can have a look at the post with all the details. The ebook itself is $39.99. And if you do sign up and purchase this weekend, so the 12th and the 13th of April, you will get exclusive offers available. So for your purchase of $39.99, you will also get to choose from a list of giveaways to what you want to select. So there'll be posing lessons, clothing brands involved, and lots of different things that you can access as part of your purchase. For me, guys, if you know me, you'll understand. If I can give anything back to you guys and our community, I absolutely will. After the early bird release this weekend, it will be available as a purchase for just the ebook. And anyone that purchases from this weekend onwards, the ebook will be delivered the following Monday to your email inbox. So if you want any more information, please reach out on Instagram, and you will find, of course, my handle in this episode description. Now, of course, enjoy this episode. Nice bonus one for you, as I said, and let's get stuck into acting like a pro. Welcome back, guys, to the Beyond Condition podcast webinar series. Today, we've got my bestie, Wendy, joining us. And who better to talk about acting like a pro than the longest serving IFBB pro?
Hello, everyone. Welcome.
I love it because when obviously at the seminar, when you introed, it's like that's male and female, guys.
Not just a female.
Yeah. When did you win your pro card? What year?
2004.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Wow.
2004. And I
And
did my first show in 1996.
did you?
I bet loads of people weren't even born then.
Oh, Anna's like, hmm. I love it. I love it. And when you were in those, in that time, it was like
I
one
was like
per a year.
years old back then.
How old were you?
Honestly.
How old were you?
3.
Three.
Three. Now I feel old.
Wow. It is, it's certainly changed over the years. We've touched on this before, Wendy, where that was when it was like one pro card a year, and it was, there's two sides to it. I'm sure you'd agree. It's like more opportunities is very good for the industry, but also, and I had this conversation with a gym owner that I visited the other day, and he owns a gym and he's built it from scratch and whatever, and he was like, it almost, because there's so many awarded, it can sort of, dilute the industry as well. So there's sort of it's
Yeah.
good for opportunities, but then there's so many pro cards obviously awarded nowadays.
Yeah, I think sometimes it takes the value away. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So, like, obviously, I don't want to hear that phrase and like when we were younger, like, but when I was younger, there was just one pro card a year allowed, and that was in October every single year. at the British finals, there was one British finals. There was the NABA British finals, which obviously that was amateur. And then it was obviously IFBB, which turned into UK BFF, as we know it now. And that was the only way you could get your pro card once a year in October, and that was it. So if you missed out in that October, you had to wait the following year to try again. Where now it's like, it is good, but it kind of, I think, devalues it, if you like.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's not to take away like the current crop of pros, not anything away from them now, because it's not their fault, it's not their choice. But it does kind of take away that, that exclusive
Mm.
like group, if you like.
I feel like that as well with, there are federations. Again, it's not taken away from, we never want to say, we take away from what you've achieved, etc. But, there are some federations where it's like top 8 or 9 get invited to the British finals. And even when in my most successful year, you had to win the whole show to get the invite to be
Mhm.
able to compete against the best. And personally, for me, that validated so much more. It was like, shit, I've won the whole show. I've now qualified to compete internationally. I'm going to go
Yeah,
and represent my country. And then when you get abroad, I feel like as well, you're already at a standard which could be more competitive rather than, if it's top 9 in every category, every regional, in say something like PCA, it's like,
yeah,
fucking hell, how many competitors are there going to be? How many classes? How long's the show going to be? And it does, I personally feel it did, start to take away from earning the right, as it were. And again, it's a bit cliche, isn't it? Oh, earning the right. But I like that because you're like, I've got to really work here to get this qualification, if you know what I mean.
yeah, absolutely. And
Mm.
even when I won my class and my excuse me, won my overall, I actually had to write a letter,
Did
right,
you?
to the heads of the federation to tell them how I was going to use the pro card and how what I was going to do with it.
Wow.
Because you weren't allowed to just get your pro card and do nothing. You had to write and kind of explain how good you were, what you want to do with it, and all of that. And then they decided after that letter, like, okay, you deserve it or you don't deserve it, and
Whoa.
that's what we had to do. Yeah.
That
So
is so cool. I mean, your story in itself, when we first did our pod together, and when we talk about acting like a pro, from early on, you had that influence as well. And again, I don't know if there's that much influence available like your opportunity, or it was like you lived with your coach, you were, it's like that's my idol. This is what I want to be like. And
yeah,
you start living like a pro before you're a pro. And when you were describing it, I was like, wow, if a lot of people had that opportunity and that mindset gifted as such, it's amazing because it sculpts you into understanding and the value of like, this is bodybuilding.
yeah, absolutely. So I think there's some people trying to get in who can't get in. Do we need to send them a link or
Oh,
something?
there's one.
I think
Oh, in the
Sophie.
chat.
Yeah.
Body and Heather can't get in. Hmm.
Oh, we're in.
Oh, okay.
Woo.
Carly's in. Where's
Oh,
Heather? Where's Heather?
she's on her way.
All right. Okay. Cool.
I've
Perfect.
just managed to get the link off Sophia. Oh my God, that was a heart attack. Anyway, hello.
We were just talking about how Wendy was around her coach in the early days and aspiring to be that pro mindset and live and breathe bodybuilding and everything that came from being around that influence. I don't feel like
Mm.
nowadays it's as available. And we also spoke about the exclusivity of getting a pro card. It's there's a lot more being given out now compared to one a year when Wendy started out.
Mm.
Can you
Yeah.
imagine now if we said to our clients, just come and live with us?
Yeah.
And then you can just see how we live. We have like a house full, wouldn't we?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I
yeah,
know.
I mean, going back when even before I met, obviously, because when I met Kim, like Kimberly Ann was my obviously coach and mentor. But before I met her, I still had this mindset of, and I was convinced that I was going to be a pro, like no matter what. And that was before I met her. I didn't know how, but I just knew that's what I was going to do.
Mm,
And so my mindset was right. And but when I met Kimberly Ann in 1999, that kind of cemented and kickstarted everything I need to do to act like a pro.
mm,
And but just prior to that, I was my friends at the time. I was in a circle of friends where that we like to go out clubbing, and as people do. and it wasn't really I can say that on here, can't I? It wasn't really like the best group to be hanging around. But back in the day, we'd go clubbing, it'd be like all nighters. I didn't drink alcohol, but obviously there's the ecstasy scene at the time.
This is a
And my way of thinking was, I won't drink alcohol because that'll mess my training up.
and calories.
Yeah, but I'm not proud of this at all, but I'm just being like truthful. So then I would obviously take some ecstasy, but not drink alcohol. And this was before, and I would go out, and in my head, I was thinking, right, I'm doing it okay. I would even take my protein flapjacks in my jeans pocket and on the dance floor. And I don't know if people have been there, but you just don't want to eat anyway.
Yeah,
But I would eat my flapjacks on the dance floor. I was the driver as well,
I
right?
love it.
And I would never ever miss a session the next day, like a leg session or a train session.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter if I had no sleep. It didn't matter like what time I rose in the morning. If I was like this, I would always make sure that I would be at the gym. And then there came a point. I'd been to Kim's, and it was the first time I'd got back from Kim's, and I was doing a leg session on a Sunday morning after being out all night and all morning. And I was like, "What am I doing?"
Mm.
And I decided there and then, that's it. That's enough. And I actually said to myself, if I want to be a pro athlete, this is not how a pro athlete lives.
Mhm.
Like that's not right. So I just stopped there and then, and that's it. No more clubbing days for me.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, I lost my friend at the time, and they were like, "Oh, you just," because obviously I used to go and stay with Kim in London, then come back. That was before I moved with her permanently. And every time I'd come back from being with her, they'd say, "Oh, you change and you just want to be like her." I was like, "Yeah, I actually do want to be like her."
Mhm.
And we're not good enough for you now. And it was quite tough at the time because obviously when you're a bit younger, your circle of friends is, well, that's who you are, isn't it? That's your support system. It's your friends, your friendship group. So obviously me coming back from there, from London, and then being back in the Northeast and everyone up here is like into the clubbing scene. I was like, I'm done with this. Like I've got bigger goals. I want to be a professional athlete, and that is not how a professional athlete acts and behaves.
Mhm.
So overnight, I just said enough's enough, and yeah, I lost my friendship group. A couple of them like stayed with me, um, but my goals and my desire was bigger than that. The idea of going clubbing.
For
So
sure. I feel like you go through eras as well. Like, it's there's different eras to life. It's like school, and then you're still like, don't really know who I am. I think I do.
yeah,
And then it's like early adults, and a lot of us will go through the clubbing scene, etc. I feel like as well, when I had those clubbing years of like 18 to 21, it's like I rinsed it so much that I can't think of anything worse now than going and getting, absolute
until that music
massive.
comes on in the gym, you're like, oh,
Yeah, like the alcohol. It's like the alcohol scene in age 18 to 21. It was like I just went in so much because I just didn't know who I was. I didn't know where I fitted, and it was just like I didn't do the gym or anything, and I was just like, oh. And then I got to a point where I did it so much that the desire to do it again is just not there. But like you say, with when it's like ecstasy and class A's, etc. Like you say, when a tune comes on or whatever, you're like, oh yeah.
it's like, oh, it's only back on. It's like,
Yeah,
but what's really funny was, like, I don't know, when you're growing up, I don't know, your parents or whoever tries to teach you a lesson in something. It's like, say, I mean, I've never smoked ever, but say, like, some people will try and make the kids smoke loads of cigarettes. If you feel like you want to smoke, then okay, here, do this, and then, like, smoke loads. I'll show you what drunk is, and try and get them drunk. So when I went down to London one time, like, Kim said, right, you've been going clubbing, I'll take you clubbing. So she she was at the time, she was head doorman at Ministry of Sound in London, which is like the massive club. So we get ready, we goes in, and I'm with her, and she's like really famous at the time. And like we were clubbing like literally all night, all morning. We drove back in her like soft top sports car, and then that was just like the finisher. She was like, "I'll kick it out of you if you get what I mean." So like, and that was the last time.
mm.
So
I think sometimes you have to. I spoke to Carly about this with it's a
Mm.
completely different subject, but similar narrative with food pathologies and when you can get into the traps of sort of overeating, restricting, and what have you. And I feel like there's a bit of it's a bit out there, but there's a bit of almost. when you have got those pathologies of overeating, potentially binging, sometimes I do believe that from a mindset point of view, there's a last purge, as it were. There's a last time of doing these things. And again, this is just stuff that my brain works, as you know, in very, very mysterious ways at times. And I look at this type of stuff and it's almost like you do see this where it's like you've sometimes got to do something to the nth degree one more time and then you're fucking sick of it. I remember there was Tony Robbins did it with smoking with a guy and he said
Right.
you
Okay.
smoke you smoke till you literally, and this guy's fucking like "Argh," and he's making him smoke and he never smoked again. And I don't know if there is some merit in that, but sometimes with this sort of when you're healing something,
Mhm.
sometimes you've almost got to do it to the nth degree to say goodbye to it, as it were, if you
Yeah.
know what I mean.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Mm,
So that was that.
yeah.
So I had like obviously it all started with that belief and the faith, and I always say everything starts with the thought. So if you behave or you act, you have to start acting from what you want. So you're acting from the wish fulfilled. That if
Mm,
that makes sense. So if you want to be something, not even a bodybuilder, if you want to be a musician or an artist or an entrepreneur, you have to start behaving like that person you want to be right now
mm, mm.
because and get that mindset. And it might people might think you come across as cocky or arrogant or something, or you're above, but that's not true. It's you've got to really, really believe in yourself and have that faith. And when you have that belief and that drive and desire to achieve something, if you combine the two, then that will get you to where you want to be.
Yeah, I feel like as well, like you say, with parting with friends, it's a good example of I had school friends and stuff, and I'd spend time with them when I'd started bodybuilding. And every time I saw them, it would be like, oh, I'm on a diet now, or what are you eating? Or like they constantly sort of make excuses for what they were doing. And I was like, this is a friendship outside of bodybuilding. Like, I don't mind what you're doing, like,
Yeah,
as long as you're happy and fulfilled. But it almost sparked this low level tension all the time of, they'd be eating and being like, oh, I don't normally have this, or, and when you become the bodybuilder or you're acting like a pro, I feel like sometimes it's actually the other people, they see sort of insecurities in themselves and they wish actually they could do more of what you do. And rather than us take it as like, fuck's sake, they're critiquing me all the time, they're being really annoying. Sometimes it's because, people can't or won't or don't want to do what we do. And it's almost like a backwards way of respecting what you're doing, but not
yeah,
actually saying,
it is. Yeah, you're dead right. And I think like when you say your current friendship group at that time, they sometimes well, it's a jealousy thing, a lot of it as well, or an insecurity thing because you've got the courage to go ahead and follow your path or your dream, yet they haven't. So they will then like reflect that back on you and turn it around on you as if to say like you're being arrogant, you're not being out in our friendship group anymore because you've been selfish. Well, actually, it's on them. I always say it's on them. Like if someone has a problem with your decision or they don't like what you're doing, that's not you. That's like I'm sure I said this in the seminar as well, but that is their problem, not your problem.
Mhm.
And you'll find that the ones who do support you, encourage you, will stay with you and accept you for what you are. And then life goes on as well. Like people change. So some people are only meant to stay in our lives like for a short period of time. Like it's like the universe saying, right, this part of your life will have this person, but then you're done with them.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that you're done with them in a horrible way, but you've brought each other what you need to bring, and then now is your time to move on from each other.
Mm.
And I think a lot of people have trouble accepting that for one reason or another, and that goes in like relationships as well. It's hard to part with people because it's comfortable
Mm.
and it's acceptable. Where if you have a partner who you don't get on with, but it's acceptable to be with them, then you'll stay with them for the wrong reasons. And
Yeah.
it's hard to make that split, whether that's with a partner or with your friends or with anyone, with any relationship. It's difficult
Mm.
if that's what you're used to doing. It does get uncomfortable, but if if it doesn't sit right, if it's not aligned with who you are, then you have to let go.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes it's a graduated process if, any of you guys have got, say, a family member. A good example is my mum. At first, there was sort of a, I don't know if friction's the right word, but she was worried about me, getting lean and then not being lean and then getting lean and then not, and she thought, there was some sort of food disorder or whatever. She's like, what the hell is going on? And it took quite a few years. Now I noticed the narrative change, and you'll relate to this, Wendy, in a certain degree, when I won a show, because it was almost worth it that I'd actually won a show, and then I went on to win another show and another, and it's like, oh my God, she's now Miss Universe. My daughter's a bodybuilder, and it's like, and now, a good example. We went and stayed with her for the funeral that I went to. And she was like, "Oh, I'd love to take you out for a belated meal for Matt's birthday." And I was like, "I'm dieting." And that was it. There wasn't any friction there. There wasn't any, oh, and it's like my birthday's on Friday, and I'm like, cool, it's my birthday. It's not, I don't need to be doing stuff outside my diet. I'll just train it and do the things. But you have to have that confidence again, leaning into, what do you want from bodybuilding, to just say, and if it takes time of someone that you want to stay in your life, like your mum or whoever it's going to be, if it's like they're going to be in my life no matter what, there's going to maybe be some years potentially, or maybe forever, that there is this friction. I know obviously your relationship with your mum as changed over the years, as it were, but you'll relate when it's like you win a show and they're like, oh, my daughter's a bodybuilder.
You're outside the box now. Yeah, but no, I mean, I think we all have to accept the fact that even with parents, it's difficult and it's not easy at times. But we have to sometimes accept that they're not gonna like what we do. Not everyone is. So if it's kind of, you've got to accept that that's again, it's on them. But you've got to focus on the good parts of the relationship as well. And at the end of the day, she's my mum, or the parents, family. I still love them, but it doesn't mean to say that they have to agree with what I do, or I have to agree with their opinion.
Mm.
It's kind of like you agree to disagree, sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
You
My mum
know,
always has like Arla protein yogurts when I like see her or stay, or like she has like M&S chicken because she knows that I love it, and she's like, "Oh, I have this for my lunch, love." And she's tried multiple times to sort of diet and stuff, and I feel like when I was living there, it was more so she sort of felt like she needed to do that, but she's really happy, and she doesn't go to the gym. She eats some protein, she does home cooking, etc. And it's like almost that impact as well on your loved ones. Sometimes it's small things that they might just be a bit more aware of, and we can
Mm.
sort of, rather than ram it down their throats, because it just doesn't work out. My mum ain't going to be a bodybuilder, so it's like, if I can just give her some low level tuition to help her feel better, from protein, from micronutrients, and even if I said micronutrients, she wouldn't know what I'm talking about because it's fruit and veg to her. But if I can impact her from a health standpoint, then that can
Yeah,
be almost playing a part in these people's lives, and they don't even really know you're doing it if you do it in a smart way. And I think that can be quite a nice feeling, because it's like, oh, it's really cute.
yeah,
She's got her Arla protein yogurts in the
that
fridge.
is cute. Yeah, it's cute. And mums are always dieting anyway, aren't they? Like, no matter when, they're always on the diet, or just trying to lose a few pounds, pet. But again, that's if your mum's quite open minded, because,
Yeah,
like, I know from my point of view, the way of rigid thinking is they're not prepared to listen. They're set in their ways, and that's that. So even if I know I can help them. I know I can like help the health way, but they're not prepared to change, and that's key. So you kind of got to. It's expectations. I just don't have any anymore.
yeah,
Where before, when I used to get upset, I used to have expectations,
yeah,
but now I don't, and I just like it's a neutral thing. Like I just think I have no like I don't expect them to think like that, and it's I'm neither I'm not. They just are. So as long as I can accept that, it took me a while, but otherwise it just hurts me, and then I end up hurting them. So it's not worth it.
yeah.
So
Same goes for partners, doesn't it? Like,
yeah,
you know, Mats doesn't want to compete. He says, "Oh, I'm just a hobby builder." I'm like, "Well, you're pretty much a bodybuilder, but anyway, his approach to mine is very different." But when we got together, and when I say it out loud, I think, is this me being arrogant or whatever? But I said to him, "I'm not changing what I do as a bodybuilder." And that is my non-negotiable going into this relationship, and it was very, very clear. And at that point, being honest, it was like I would choose bodybuilding over a relationship. And because I'd come from the marriage, I've come away from that and I'm thinking I ain't compromising. And it was quite a narrow-minded way of thinking on reflection. And it took, probably about a year, like a whole prep for me to be able to go, I quite like a cuddle because this is quite hard. And take some affection and stuff like that because it was so like, I mean, 4 weeks into our relationship, I went into a prep. So it was, we had a holiday and then I'm in a prep for 11 months. And it was quite a brutal way to start out. And he was like, fucking hell. What was nice for me, and I think Kay would probably be the same with watching you, Wendy, is that he was like, I've got mad respect for what you do as a bodybuilder because you do it to the nth degree. And it almost, I feel like, added, for us, this like we're on the same level because he could see my work ethic, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You can stick to your principles. I hate it when people say, "Oh, I've been selfish. I need to give back and say sorry to everyone and da 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 because I've done a prep." And it's like, you're fucking brutalizing yourself here. Why are you apologizing? You can spend time together and give back, but it's how you frame it. I feel like you're almost saying you've done something wrong for doing a prep, and it's
Yeah.
like if they're not supporting it. I can't see that it's going to work out.
Because if I say, why are you saying sorry? Why are you apologizing for something that you actually want to do? And then, it makes prep and your relationship really unsteady because therefore you're going to feel guilty about doing something that you enjoy. So, what basis of a relationship is that? If you support each other, accept the fact you've got different interests, and support each other doing different things. You don't have to be a horrible person in that relationship as long as you explain. And I always think communication is absolute key. So the days when you have got no energy, when you can't be bothered to stay up late or go places, communicate that. Otherwise, the partner is going to feel like it is their fault, But you don't have to say sorry, like, because sorry is when you've done something wrong.
Mm.
So you're actually saying, I'm doing something wrong. Well, what does that say to yourself?
Mm.
you
What
know?
does that say to the partner? And I think as well, on reflection, him seeing what's required from a prep compared to he's done like a photo shoot, he got, pretty lean for it, a photo shoot prep. But when he saw what it was like to actually prepare that extra bit for a show, it actually as well for anyone listening, your partners, your family members. I mean, he was like, fucking hell, like I'm really concerned. Like, joking aside, he was sort of like, this is fucking mental what you're doing, but he'd never seen it. So when I then put myself in his shoes, I'm thinking, well, actually, people around us, like my mum, are thinking, what the hell? And they're worried. They're actually worried seeing you get this lean, and it's quite hard for them as well. So but you're so tunnel vision. You haven't got time to worry that they're worrying, and it's quite difficult, isn't it? So, like you say, communication is so key.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's very difficult because they obviously support you, like Matt support you, Kay supports me, but they also see the side that behind closed doors that other people don't see, and they worry. So they have that, and that's understandable as well. But again, a communication, you've got to say, this is, I'm going to be like this. If I look ill, it's okay. I'm meant to look ill.
Normal.
Um, and it's just a different perspective from how we see ourselves to how our family members and partners see us as well, you know. So, but again, like going back to the whole, like acting like a pro, that still does mean it's how you interpret that, isn't it? Because how you behave, how I think a pro should behave, is completely different to maybe what another pro thinks.
Mhm.
Um, and that can go on all the way down. Like even when I was competing, the girls who I used to compete against, there's things that happened and they did that I thought, for me, that's not a professional athlete behaving that way. But they obviously did. So like it's your own perspective. But if you ask me how I would act, then it would be very different to what someone would act. It's just how against how I got brought up as well. And I watched Kim work. I watched this like mix with people in society. I watched her integrate. I watched her market herself. Watched her network. I saw it all with my own eyes. How she lived, how she trained, how she ate, how she carried herself, and I learned so much in those years. And even like how to go about your business, how you're posing, all behind closed doors, which nobody really sees. And it's quite fascinating. And I was like, oh, wow, like that takes some doing. And you almost, and it did. And she actually said to me, when she left the house, she became a different person. So only I saw her behind closed doors because as soon as she left the house, she became Kimberly Ann Jones, a bodybuilder. And that's kind of an effect what I used to do. So when I would go out in public, I was Wendy McCready, the professional bodybuilder. But indoors, when you've got your PJs on and you're watching Netflix and stuff, but then you forget who that person is sometimes because you're so programmed into being this particular person, then you forget who you are in here, and when you do it for so long, like what's not, how can you not, how do you have to undo that all? Like unravel it all again to start again, like to start your afterlife, if you like. But yeah, it's like she would say to me, once we get out this door end, then you have to behave like a pro. And that's how she was. And it's like at first I was like, whoa, I don't know if I like this. But then I watched it and I was like, wow, this is fascinating. It's like a fly on the wall, how she networked to people, how she carried herself. And just like a magnet, like drawing people in for energy and for enthusiasm, the way she spoke to people. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. But then we'd have a giggle on the night time when we'd go back and we'd get our pages out, we'd take our makeup off, and it was like,
Yeah, yeah.
you
I like
know,
that though, because it's like, again, the opportunity to
if she watches this, she'll kill us.
yeah, yeah. It's I mean that level of fruition. I'm very grateful to the people that I know in the industry that I believe are some of the real people in the industry, and it's super inspiring because even conversation outside of it, it's insightful. There's stories, there's stuff you can talk about, and this again, when you're looking at having a bodybuilding career, as it were, and over a long period of time it is the impressions as well. I've put this in the ebook that I'm making at the moment about the impressions of when you're on stage if you don't place, when you're backstage if you're rude to the backstage team,
Yeah.
if you're, I've had it before where when I qualified for the universe, I stepped off stage and the one who came second, all their friends were like, my friend should have won, and they were proper going at me, and I was like, I've just qualified, I've won the whole show. I just qualified to go and compete in Mexico. My life is literally complete right now. And I had all of these people ganging, I was on my own backstage and they were all ganging up on me and all this type of stuff. But you've only got to, and this is what, you know, I don't want to go into politics too much, but when you've been in the game for a while, you understand it a bit more. People listen and watch. Judges listen and watch. The
Oh yeah.
backstage, you know it, Wendy. I know it. And, as I say, when you've been in the game for a while, you start to realize, the impressions last, guys. And I'm not just saying this. Bodybuilding seems to be, when you're following loads of people on Instagram, this big, massive industry, but it's not. It is close knit. And you
Mhm.
do notice this. And I think it's so important what you've just said there, with the impression of who do you want to come across as, and it's important. It really is. If you're looking to pursue this for a long period of time, I personally believe.
Definitely. Because you don't like, even now I'm so observant, like everywhere, like, especially in the gym, you watch people, you see how they react, how they interact with each other, and it goes a long way. And it's like I always say, yeah, it's you have to be kind to everybody, like, give people a smile, be approachable for one, be friendly, be welcoming, because you never know if that one person might your first encounter with that person might be the only first time they've ever been in the gym. And that first encounter with you might give them a good impression or a bad impression of bodybuilding. So how do we want to, promote bodybuilding? Or do we want to walk around with our headphones on, like miserable, like unapproachable? Well, or do you want to like promote the sport and do you want to like be happy to people, be like I say, be approachable, helpful, friendly, which again attracts more people. So how do you want to be? Because people watch, like you say, Sarah, people listen and watch, and I watch everything. Even it shows. I always say I've got 360 vision. I know what's going on behind me. It's like that's from probably from working on the doors as well. But I always watch everything. I take everything in. I don't always say it, but I always take everything in. And that's
Mhm.
what Kim used to say to me, just watch people, how they interact with each other. And then it's crazy.
It is so
It's-
true in
Yeah,
bodybuilding, like it really,
yeah.
really is. And there's nothing better than when I had Pat Warner on the pod and he was like, I remember you at your first ever show. And I'm like, you remember me from 12 years ago? And he was like, your energy, you were there because you loved bodybuilding. And again, it's a true example of a lasting impression because he knows X person and X person and
Mm.
that, and then it's, this depends on what you want from the sport as well. It's like if you just want to compete and do your thing and whatever, fine. But if you're looking to sort of be in the industry, and you've got to be acutely aware that there's a lot of personalities as well. And some people be a nod of the head, some people be a chat and whatever. But you never know who knows who. I also think from a coaching standpoint that I know from my standpoint and from yours that for me I should be an advocate of the sport because why am I coaching if I'm not? Like if I'm fucking pissing and moaning because I'm in a deficit, I just don't think it's a good thing to do. And I've always had this with my stories, my social media. I've seen, lots of things on stories and stuff where it's bashing, oh God, I hate this. And I'm thinking, these are coaches in the space and your clients are watching that. Again, it's like this ripple effect of you're almost manifesting people to be like, this is fucking shit. It's like, don't do it then. Do you know what I mean?
You've got to always remember wherever you are, someone's always watching.
Yeah.
And that could be a member of the public, but someone's always watching. So, I mean, even I remember when we used to go out, like not anymore, but we used to do like heavy bulking seasons back in the day, right? And you used to feel awful, like you used to feel like really
Hamster.
sluggish.
Hamster.
And hamster cheeks. And the last thing you want to do is put on a tight dress and put your makeup on and go out and like be like look nice and all you want to do is put your baggies on and like and sloth about. But no, we had to go out and I have been some really where I felt really out of depth. And I've got to these like black tie dinners and I've people in suits and like doing speeches and I'm like I had no idea what I was doing, but I had to come across as if I was doing what I was doing and like bring my tummy in, like always. From the minute you walk in, keep your tongue, get your posture right, walk properly, don't walk like a geezer. That's what Kate used to say to me. Walk like a lady. When I was like, how do you do that? But I had to remember that everyone's watching at that time, and that's how people will remember you. And then because there's opportunities everywhere, that's what I always got taught as well. Because if you carry yourself well and you come across well, that will open doors for you. Like not necessarily immediately, but in the future they'll remember like how you carry yourself, how you spoke, how you professional. And then if it, back then we used to hide for guest spots and seminars and stuff. No one would want to hire somebody or for a guest spot or a seminar who didn't look the part, who didn't look professional, who didn't take care of themselves or how of just the walk like who couldn't be bothered, like shoulders slumped. So even from then, yes, I was in the most awkward position and I felt out of my depth a lot of the times, but I still had to pretend that, well, it is pretend that, yeah, I breathe in, I don't feel the right fatty, but I might try to look my best. And then you'd get home and you go, but it's like impressions last. And against all that acting like a pro, it's all like how you want to be perceived and thinking ahead. It's not just that moment in time where people remember you. It's the knock-on effect that will have for your career. And that was one of those like daily things that was drilled into me day in, day out. Funny story though, I must tell you this. So Kim was such a bad influence as well, right? So she was known for her like raunchy posing on stage and stuff. She was known for posing, but she was really good, like really, really good. But she always used to get into trouble with the heads of the FBB, UK BFF, right? So there's one year we went to she had two clients it was the natural bodybuilding world championships in Barcelona. And she said, right, Wendy, come on, you come with me. So I was like, oh, right, okay. So we went to Barcelona and it was a black tie dinner at the end of the World Championships. All the leaders of the federations were there, the chairman, all that sort of thing. So we got an invite to the after party, to the banquet. And the discos on, stuff like this. None of us drink, okay? So we weren't drunk. And then there was, outside the venue, there was a bunch of trolleys near a supermarket. So we thought we'd have a trolley race, right? So there we are representing like the UK BFF in Barcelona we had tiny little black dresses on and heels on, right?
Jack.
And we were weighing ourselves laughing. We were pushing each other on the trolleys. And then the heads of the federation came out, and we'd already been photographed by people, right? They thought it was hilarious. But then we got reprimanded by, and Kim got wrong because she was like, "You should know better," because she's trying to bring me up. We laugh about it to this day. We would do like pulling moonies with our dresses up and stuff. Totally wrong, but again, we were like, we got wrong for not behaving and representing the UKBFF on the international level. So it was funny at the time.
But that again, this raises a good subject with, sometimes we can be under this illusion that every single pro sticks to everything to the letter,
Yeah,
and because they put on their social media, I don't cheat on my diet, blah blah blah, blah, whatever it is. But actually, we are human, so we are allowed to have a meal out. We are allowed
yeah,
to do a moonie. We are allowed to do these things.
yeah,
Again, there's that, perception of how do we balance that? How do we incorporate having some fun? Because it can be quite hard, as you said, when you're stepping into certain, you're incarcerating yourself into this, I'm a professional athlete, to have some fun as well. But I feel like sometimes it's when you're with other bodybuilders of a similar nature, you have fun, but it's like ridiculous fun. Like you do stupid shit and you're like, we are fucking weird. It's like tanning stories and stuff, isn't it? Like I've had multiple people come up to me in the tanning booth, like, "You're Sarah from the podcast," and we're just butt naked having a conversation. I'm like, yeah, this is bodybuilding.
Here's a question for you. In the talent situations, where do you look?
I love physique, so the thing is, like, I just stare because I love looking at physiques. And like when Romana stayed not long ago, I was like, oh. And then like with you, Wendy, when you stayed, I'm like, how are you real? You're just so fucking cool. You're just standing there all jacked and lean. I just don't know where to look because I get so excited by bodybuilding. I'm like, what is wrong with me?
I remember when we went to when I did my first pro show in the States, I'd never experienced this before. It's probably dead common now, anyways. Spray tans, right? We used to have to do our own tans at home, right? There
Okay.
wasn't such a thing. But when I went to do my first pro show in the States, it was a thing. It was the first time I'd ever been proper spray tan with the tents and stuff. But they'd get you in, and like there'd be about 6 or 7 tents, and they'd all be like facing each other, and you'd have to like stand there and dry and like be naked basically in front of everyone. And I was like, wow, this is a bit awkward. Like, and I was again, I had to like pretend like, yeah, this is cool. Like, it's all right, but like, where do you look? Because I was facing these naked women. Like, I was like trying not to look anywhere, but I couldn't look that way because like she was there.
Yeah.
Like,
When you first have that experience, it's like because I remember when I was at a show once, there was the first time, and she was like, "I'm not getting naked," and the tanner was like, "You either get naked or you get out. We've got a queue of people to tan here," and they got quite shirty with her. She was like,
yeah,
"I can't stand here with my vagina out," and they were like, "Don't have a tan then."
yeah.
Because there's a queue of people, and you
Yeah.
just, I mean, it just throws you in at the deep end, doesn't it? Of like, shit, I've just got to be naked here. Hmm?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, back when I started, the talent teams in the States were guys as well. So I don't know if this is probably allowed now. I'm not even sure.
Broad. It broad.
Two,
I've had this.
two of the main tanners, the best tanners as well, were guys. And I was like, whoa. And then so when you're butt naked and you stood with your legs and your arms, and like, can you just turn around and just bend over slightly? I'm like, and they're on their knees like this, getting like well stuck. I'm like, oh well, this is not being a pro is.
Yeah, it's definitely the international vibe. Every time I've competed abroad, it's been a guy. I actually had one where I was in this like really weird changing room. It was like a really old school changing room, and it was a really weird layout. And there was one guy tanning me and one guy sitting on like a ledge behind me, and he had his phone and he was like messaging, but I was like, is he fucking videoing me? Because when I had to bend over, I had to bend over towards the guy, and they're speaking Mexican. So I'm like, okay, I've got no choice here. I need a tan. And I'm like, this is really weird. I'm literally fucking bending over and he's and I'm like, and you can't communicate because it's a different language.
At least it made someone's day.
I was like, oh my God. But again, it's like, you know, when you're not used to this, a guy tanning you butt naked, I mean, people listening could think that I'm not comfortable with that, you know?
Yeah. Can you
Mm.
imagine telling like an outside or like a non-bodybuilder that thing? Imagine telling them that. Oh yeah, by the way, this guy was on his hands and knees, like right close to me, Jack and Danny, and he was like,
Yeah. And it's when you first do it, it's almost a bit uncomfortable because you're sort of like, it's like anything, isn't it? If you're doing something for the first time, you think everyone's like when you walk in the gym for the first time, you think everyone's automatically staring at you, and then you're like, and and you just get on with it. That actually raises a point with the gym and acting like a pro in the gym. We could talk about training and how you present yourself, etc. I personally believe, that level of not arrogant but and approachable, but also owning the space. I feel like that comes with time for sure. Um, but I spoke about this on a previous webinar where it feels very good, where you can own your body image, you can own what you're pouring into this every day, and you turn up at that gym and the gym's yours, and there's no better feeling than that. And again, people might not see you, but it's a self-respect thing, I think. Actually, when you go in the gym and you're like, I'm gonna fucking light shit up here, and you leave thinking, shit, I am battered. But you're like, yes. And I feel like, owning that as well. It's this type of stuff within your narrative. Why are you bodybuilding? What do you want from it?
yeah,
Is it feeding, it can feed your ego, or it can feed you going, I'm a fucking boss here, and that transfers into your whole life. And again, being an advocate of the sport.
yeah. I mean, again, I used to. I think I've told you this a few times. When I was pro and I was training, I used to be not the nicest of people to be around in the gym, but for me, I was there to do a job.
Mm.
Again, that was my mindset of I'm a professional athlete. I need to behave like one. I need to act like one. I need to train like one.
Yeah.
So, and that means no distractions. And I was never rude to anybody, but everyone knew me anyway. So don't bother Wendy when she's training. Like I'd always say hello. That was it. And that's all they got. I would never engage in any conversation. I wouldn't even acknowledge if someone would walk past me, and like if I was in the middle of a set. Phones weren't even a thing back then. Which I'm so pleased about. Like even now, I'm not on my phone ever when I'm training. Like that stays out of the way. And I get people now have the music on and the program sometimes. Um, but I was never had that distraction, and I'm so pleased because for me, I was there, I was focused, and like I would almost not pace up and down looking like an idiot like between sets, but my way of thinking was not on my phone, not who's messaging me, was my next set. What can I do? What can I do? And then I would also visualize because visualization, like imagery, played a massive part of my training, like huge. And again, that's again away from the phone. You have to get in your own head. And I would suggest to everybody with this, for people who do have the phones on them, I get it, right? I get you have your training programs on your phone. I understand that. I know you have your music. Just try for a week, right? Leaving your phone in your bag or in your car even. Um, and just rather than in between sets, quickly scroll on social media, quickly replying to email, quickly replying to work, quickly replying to your mum, what's for tea, like blah, blah, whatever. Just get out there and get in your own head and actually think and see yourself, visualize yourself, how that next set's going to feel. How you can say if you're doing just an example, say if you've been benching 35k dumbbells and your next set's going to be the 40s. Visualize it, just sit there and think, go through it, close your eyes, smell how the gym feels, imagine how it feels, go through, watch yourself as if you're watching yourself on the TV doing it, and imagine how that feels and do that in between your sets as opposed to worrying about what else external things is going on. Like, how does it feel inside? And trust me, your connection, your intensity will improve massively without getting distracted by those other things. Because that was a big part of my training. I'd be so into my zone. Anything could be going on. Like I wouldn't be bothered. And that wasn't being rude. It was trying to do as best a job as I could do whilst I was in that gym. I had 45 minutes. I had however many sets to make that count. And if part of my energy was going elsewhere, apart from that next set, then I'm losing out because then I'm not able to give my all. So by all means, chat and everything, like before or after, or check your phones after, but I just try it just for 1 minute. Just leave your phones. Everybody's like, oh my God, like I might miss out on who's posted something on Instagram, but
Gives a fuck.
yeah, it's just give yourself that chance, like like get really focused, get really deep down focused, and then see what happens. Because trust me, you'll have like such a better training session, and you'll come out feeling, wow, I actually did give everything. And I ask people for a spot.
Mm.
Don't be so like don't don't be so like distracted by your phone and everything. Just get somebody to come and spot you. Get like raise the bar a little bit, like push yourself to the next level, rather than thinking other things. It's an
Mm.
hour every time, like
Yeah, it's not long, and this is all phases as well, guys. It's something I've spoken about a bit more recently with, people say, oh, off season. We spoke about it on the roundtable. Off season's easier, or one of the parts is easier, or whatever. But in off season, we've spoken about this over voice note, Wendy. Are we ever fully recovered? Probably not. And off season, I'm fucked. Like,
Mm.
yeah, I'm on high calories. Like my calories got pretty high in my last off season, and the fatigue from training, and this has come with time. Like I used to train like a fanny. I'm happy to admit that. And then when I actually transfer this into what's happened to my physique, I'm like, oh, okay, this makes sense. And again, you have to sort of learn over time and what have you. And this is why talking about it's very good for people to hear because when you go in and every rep, it's like, I know it sounds a bit, but for me, I'm just like, this is me. This is my hour, hour and a half and it's some mad. Like sometimes I feel like I'm bloody high. I'm so with the session, and again, it might sound a bit crazy, but if you get it, you get it, and it can come over time. But allowing yourself, like you say, a little tip there to try it for a week or try it even for one session and see how that feels. Aside from if you've got commitments, you need your phone there for kids or etc., work maybe. But if you can,
even so, they could ring the gym.
yeah, yeah, good point.
Like for just that 1 hour,
Yeah, yeah,
like
it isn't
because
long, is it?
You just
sometimes,
write your training plan out. If your training plan is on your phone, you go your logbook, you just write it down. You know
yeah.
what you're doing. You don't need your phone. Like my phone is on because I've got a playlist of like however many songs that's just there. So I don't actually have to go on my phone. And to hear Wendy say this is refreshing because the gym that my old man had for my life, it was old school. This is exactly what it was like, and this is what it should be. I think like you starting 12 years ago, same with me when I first competed, we were really honoured, I guess, to be starting bodybuilding then because it was so different then to what it is now. And when Wendy was really in it at the same time as my dad, it was the same mindset. And I think it depends on who you're looking at as a role model. Like if you were brought up looking at Sean Ray, Dorian Yates, and you're looking at the old hard school, even with the women that used to be on stage, if you've been brought up looking at that, you understand it a little bit differently. And that's no diss in any new, pros or anything like that. But if you've seen an old school style, you'll resonate with everything that Wendy's saying because that's what it's about. And if you are on your phone, it drives me insane. Like just fuck it off. And the tripods because they're recording everything. You're not going to make the progress if you're too busy recording what you look like. Just train. Like, sorry, I went
Okay.
off on one. I went off
No,
on
no,
one then. But
no,
like,
I
it's
absolutely
that's
agree.
how it should be. It is,
Yeah.
and watching you train with Amanda when you did that session with her at the seminar, seeing how you train, it's like it's refreshing to see because that's asking for people for a spot, pushing to absolute failure. That's how you should be training. It shouldn't be like, oh, 15 and wait, let's get off and back on the phone. It's wet like training. You're never gonna get anywhere.
Yeah, training to true failure is fucking. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm,
it's
you know,
hard.
yeah, in certain sessions and movements, and I talk about this to my clients. Like, I go to bed the night before, and I'm thinking, "Fuck, that session tomorrow is gonna fuck me up," and I'm almost quite scared to sort of. I'm on the way to the gym thinking, "Shit." But again, when you look at physiques, when you look at what comes from this mindset, it's proof in the pudding, isn't it? It's like it. in my mind, it's almost like not that you should be shitting yourself every time, but maybe you should. I don't know.
Yeah, you should have that element of fear, like when you're about to get under the bar or under the weights. And that's not mean to say that you're not confident, because you have to obviously believe that you can do it, but it's having that just element of fear before you head into that heavy set. That's what it should be like. Like, it used to be a thing, like, used to get leg day nerves. And then I used to, like, when I used to drive to train with Anne, Bales and John, it was like, oh, I just got a toilet, just got a toilet. And it's like, I don't know if anyone knows, like, Leroy, and well, I'm sure you do. But Leroy and Dorian, I've trained a lot of times with Leroy, and it's like, oh, even now you get butterflies in your tummy, and you're like, oh, like, but it's good. It's like a nice, like, nervous feeling. You've got to have some little bit of nervousness there, because that's what drives you. And I think now people just approach it with a bit like, oh, like a half-assed approach, where like, you're going in, you're going to do it, you're going to, like, as if that is your last session that you'll ever do in your life. That's how it should be. And that could take time for some people, because some people just don't know. They've never been there before. And I always say, you think you train hard until you train hard. And I was like, people say, I have people, like, quite often say, I train really hard, I do this, and I lift this, and I'm really strong. Oh yeah, you're strong. Doesn't mean to say you train hard. And I say, come and have a session with me. And then we're like, oh. But it's like, I'll anyone, I'd take my hat off to anyone who's training. But when you push yourself out that comfort zone, and I try and encourage this for my clients, and I can see some people aren't ready in the mindset yet. So when you say taking those sets to failure, some people aren't quite ready, because they haven't got that mindset developed yet. But over time, you can see it's really rewarding to see, okay, now we're getting somewhere. Now that's what we're talking about. And it's like, it's really nice and encouraging. And it's encouraging for them, because now they know they can push past the limits. Like they can really reach further, and then they give that, it's like more self-confidence, more self-belief, because wow, have I just done that? And it's like an almost euphoric feeling, like, that was so freaking hard, but oh my god, that was so rewarding. It's like, wow.
That's why contextually it's like when I say I used to train like a fanny, I did. I trained and I thought it was hard. And like you say, you think it's hard because you think it's hard. And I wasn't around anybody, but I didn't really know, what I was doing. So it does take time. So anyone listening, because this will be released as a pod as well, anyone listening, this is not bashing where you're at.
No, no, not at all.
It's
No.
it's ideally it's sort of inspiration, as it were, and it's like, could I do more, and what does that actually look like? What does true failure look like? I mean, it's savage, and it has a knock-on effect, in the acting like a pro mindset. When you are heavily fatigued in whatever phase you're in, can that affect your relationships? Absolutely. Can that affect your readiness to do the cleaning at home? Absolutely. All of these knock-on effects to, again, this is hard when you've got a normal job, a normal life, and all of these things. So, again, that can take time, can't it, to actually work out how you can
Yeah.
lead your normal life where you need to earn your money and what have you, and still incorporate this mindset and type. And it can work. You were in the police, etc. It can work, but again,
Yeah. It's
it's
starting your mindset.
yeah, and accept.
Because I haven't always been a coach for my full-time job. I've had to do all the shitty things when I was growing up. I've lost count of how many normal jobs that I've had. But as soon as you hit that gym, I became a different person. Like, because that was my goal, that was my desire right there. So I'm not going to behave like in my normal job like I am in the gym. So but as soon as it's like a ritual. You get changed, you put your clothes on, you walk, and the switch is flicked. That's it. Like, you change gear, that's it, game on. And then obviously when you leave that person behind you. But you've got to really, the gym's a gym. That's where the work is done. And I appreciate people have, like, jobs where they can't always behave like bodybuilders. I get that, because I've been there. But you can always, in your head, it's all in here. You don't, if in the mindset, that's where you start to behave like pro, in your mind. Like, regardless of where you are, regardless of what job you are, in your head is where the belief starts, where the faith starts, where the desire starts.
Yeah, it's that burning desire as well, and
Yeah,
I do feel like there is an element of it's either there or it's not to a certain degree.
yeah,
Your character traits, your who you are as a person, like you could be out not a bodybuilder and you could be very professional minded in your career and you could take that into body like there's gonna be, different people that come in to the sport, but it can be built over time. And like you say, almost like the mindset being unlocked as you go. But you've got
mhm,
to challenge that narrative and call yourself out on your own bullshit, and it's
yeah.
uncomfortable. It is
It's very
uncomfortable.
uncomfortable because as humans, we seek comfort. So it's not normal to look for the uncomfortable part. And I think I did a post not long ago. Find the hard way because usually the hard way is the best way because that's what you're going to learn from in the long term. So short term, it's difficult. Yeah, it is. It's horrible, but long term benefits are going to be much more like positive from doing the short term hard shit. Right. So if you have a decision, you've got a choice, do the hard stuff first because that's going to benefit you later in life. You can do the easy thing, but that's if you do the easy thing now, that's going to make your life harder. But if you do the hard stuff now, that's going to make your life easier in terms.
Get off on it. Get off on it. Just be like, fucking hell, this is
Oh,
sick.
I want to go and train now.
Yeah, like it's like the tail end of a prep. You are fucked, but you're like, this is sick.
Yeah.
You're like, I've lost my
What have you got?
I've lost my bloody mind. Like Fran's building a studio and she's doing all these long
Oh,
days and everything. And it's like, but it's the same with, when you're prepping, you're building to the show.
yeah,
Anything that requires it's a project as such, isn't it? Each phase. And it's like anything that requires you doing extra and above what you normally do. And you've got to have that work ethic there. And that transfers either if you're a good bodybuilder into normal life or vice versa. It's, back to those character traits and being able to fucking be in the discomfort, be in the trenches in quotes, and be
yeah.
like, what's next, motherfuckers? It's,
But
you
then that's because you have a goal. Like, and I think that's what it all boils down to is if you don't have a goal and you just drift in, then obviously you can't have that focus and tunnel vision because there's nothing to tunnel vision for. Like if you've got a goal, you can see it. Whether you're gonna, and that doesn't have to be on stage, but just say we are talking about competing. If you're not competing this year, if you're having 2 years off, okay, 2027, that's my goal. Therefore, you wake up every day and do everything you can towards being that best person in 2027. That's like miles away. No, it's not.
no.
It is if that's how you think. But if you haven't got that target, then you're just drifting. So the first part I would say is find that goal, like find that what it is that you have to achieve because people say, I don't know, I don't really have a goal. You do, but you have to sit with yourself and get uncomfortable and find out what your true goal. Everyone's got a goal, but some people just don't know. But once you find your goal, like your desire, then you will do anything like to get there. But it has to be a strong desire, it has to be a strong passion. It can't just be, oh well, I wouldn't mind doing this. I wouldn't mind getting in shape. No, you have to think want to get in shape like as if it was the last thing you'd ever done in this world, because then you'll do almost anything to get there.
Yeah, yeah. And the joy of bodybuilding, and this is what I truly believe, is that if you had in mind that you were going to go to stage this year or, whatever the plan is, you can reroute at any time because there's multiple phases available. So, if you do need to reroute, like when I go back into off season, I'm fucking hyped for it because I'm like, I haven't improved enough from my surgery.
Yeah,
Sick, do the diet for a bit longer, get on the
yeah,
fucking gain train. And I'm not like, oh fucking hell, this is shit. I can't go to stage. It's like this is not my time. Cool. Let's
yeah.
immerse in another phase. And again, allowing that open view of like, fucking have it in off season then if the time is not right now. And that's okay. That's a good thing
But
because
you've still had short-term goals
yeah,
because you know that you've still got like a bigger goal out there, but you're now breaking it down into short-term ones, and you know when the time is right that that long-term goal is going to get smashed, and
Mhm.
and you work and you way towards it. Now every day you're thinking, right, that's my long-term goal. This is the stage I'm at right now.
and allowing that,
So hyped now. Let's go on train. How
yeah, for sure.
we do like a Zoom training session?
I do think it's a good thing happening in the space that people are able to reroute and change plans, and some people have retired when they didn't know they were going to retire, but they're still living a bodybuilding life, and there's changes happening in the space, that it's not just the stage. This goes into the professional mindset. It's not
Yeah,
just the stage that we're gunning for. There's more phases. There's so much you can do as a bodybuilder, and I think that that's really refreshing as well, because it's, this whole thing, right? I really do feel acting like a pro, your mindset, everything we've spoken about today, I truly believe it's you respecting yourself, how you carry yourself. Because how I carry myself inside, outside, I'm showing respect to myself, and that transpires into your whole life. It transpires into the universe. We can go a bit woo woo here. It gives out who you are and what you stand for. And that's important, because we can get lost, of course. But again, all of this is very much a journey. And of course, Wendy, thank you for coming on today. Has anyone got any questions for Wendy?
I was just about to ask that. I'll answer anything, so just shout up if you want.
Ooh. This is a one-time offer, guys. Anything? They're like, shit, what
I
should I
just,
This
ask?
is when everyone goes
I
shy.
just get completely lost for words as to what to say, because like you touched on a few points. You do though. It's mental, but you touched on a few points just now about like how you've got relationships and how you accept things. And I got quite like I might have to just get up in a second. I thought I might have to walk over there and have just a moment. But
Oh,
you've got such a way of words. You've got a way of just like every question I would have wanted to ask you today, you've already answered. And I've just got like, I'm like, okay, I know what I'm now going to go and do. I know what my next stages are, even though I had goals. I'm like, right, where's my big calendar? It's going out on
oh,
the wall and counting down to when, do you know, because yeah, when you want to do it, it's not just in business, it's in every aspect. And you live and breathe what I think too many of us are scared to admit that they want. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I
Like, because
understand
it
that.
has to be. Like, yeah, we all want to be that, but we're too scared to say, well, actually, you're doing what we want to do because, like, family give you shit because, it's not always what they want, or your friends might not understand, or you're too scared to admit that actually, I want to just. And you've shown that you can do it at every stage of life, and especially with your back and stuff as well. I could go on. You just blow me away entirely.
oh,
It's
Showing
just
the
epic.
it's the
It's
thank
just
you.
positive role
epic.
models.
I think it's great. And I think, like I say to Sarah all the time, what you're doing and how you're coming onto the space and you're openly talking about everything just lets us all go, oh, do you know what? We're okay because it does go on, but no one talks about it. And now it's being talked about. It's just changing the space. It's changing the
Yeah.
space for everybody. And it's wicked.
I
It is.
appreciate that. Thank
Sorry.
you so
It,
much. Oh, that's
it,
lovely. Thank you very much.
uh,
Yeah.
You're
I
Actually
just,
welcome.
travel.
I just want to help. Like I always say, if I can just, I've probably gone through everything a female bodybuilder can have gone through. And if I can help anyone, whether that's physically or mindset, or even just ask me any question, you don't have to be coached by me to ask me a question. I'll help because I want to encourage and promote. Like not even as a competitor, but just like to empower yourself because the sport gives you so much. If if you really want to do something, like you'll find a way. And I'm not being funny, but I've never had the best genetics, and I'm not just saying that because it's so cliche. I never had the best genetics, but I wasn't ever meant to do this. And I was doubted so many times, but it's that all comes back to your mindset. And I know I keep preaching it time and time again, but it really does. I had no business coming forth in the world to the lasses who I stood on stage with, but the reason I did was because of this. And if you can just take a little part of that, and it's that some self believe you can do something. It doesn't matter how many people tell you can't. You, as long as you know you can, you'll get there. Like it has to start within here, but you have to do the work on yourself as well because you have so many people who doubt you. Like life's hard. Life it will throw challenges, whether that be the kids, the family, your job, your money. But there's always a way. Like you will find a way. If you really want to do something, you'll find it. You might have to think right outside the box because trust me, I am. But it all comes back to how much you want it.
I love that. I love that. Like, you can see why when she was standing in the kitchen, I was like, "Are you real? Are you?" But again, it
Oh,
having positive role models that are, you're human as well, and you're happy to express that, and that's refreshing, as Carly said, in the industry, that we're exploring things on our round table when we're going to do future seminars, etc. To hopefully we're all equal, we're all there, we all want this, and it's about helping each other and building that empowerment, and being able to go, Wendy said this on a podcast, I'm going to do that. Or, something's mentioned and it's like, next time you're in the gym, if you've listened to this, you could go, fuck it. Do you know what? I'm going to bury myself a bit more today. Shit, that was good. And that in itself, that was my dream. One of my dreams from starting the podcast of, people talking in the space, particularly females, where I could go, do you know, that's really inspiring, and I feel like actually there's steps towards it rather than just feeling like I'm worthless and I'm never going to be here. I'm here. What the fuck do I do to get here? It's like, actually, how can we, build those steps? So yeah, it.
just one more thing. I say I do go on. I know I do.
Oh,
But,
you go
like,
on.
just one more thing. Like especially now, right? Like there's so much stuff going on. Like you have to get your bloods done. You have to have the latest supplement. You have to have the latest training program. You have to have this app or this formula. Some people just can't afford to get all that done, or they can't afford a coach, or they can't afford to get bloods done, or they can't afford the best protein or this supplement, right? But again, if you can't take that your desire away from you, right? If even if you haven't got any of that, you can still do your best, and that's all that it takes. Okay, your best is your best, and that's good enough. It doesn't matter about the fancy shit that's going on because we can all get weighed down by Instagram, TikTok, and all that stuff. And who's wearing the latest clothes and who's got latest supplements, whatever. Who's got the best sponsorship? But you can take all that away, but you can't take this away and this away. Okay, so as long as you've got this, you're good. Just do your best and just be you, and everything else will fall in place.
Yeah, because when you hit those challenges, you're like, I fucking got this, Even when you're on you're literally in the biggest, darkest hole. It's like there's something within you through these overcoming these obstacles. This is like you say, bodybuilding can bring so much. I certainly believe that for a lot of us, it brings that. It's like, fucking hell, if I can step on stage, I can do like a lot of stuff, and it's that ripple effect. But I love that. I love that. What a vibe. Does anyone else have any questions, or are we all camera shy?
I'm probably camera shy.
But maybe if you have a question, you can DM Wendy after, because
Just DM me. Honestly, I get it if you don't want to ask on here. Or you might even not think of one now, but you might think of one after. Then just drop me a DM. It's fine. I'm not like I will always get back to you. I'm a bit crappy as 7 hours getting back straight away. But yeah, I will definitely get back to you. Absolutely for sure. But if you see me at a show because I'm some upcoming shows lately, then just come and say hello. I don't bite. Obviously, I don't bite. But I like that animated football manager on the bench when someone's on stage, one of my clients. So I just I can't help it. Right? But I do love it. I do love it. So yeah, just come and like say hi or just message me. It's fine. If I can help you, I will.
love it. Thank you guys for joining. As always, I love our webinars. Makes my heart so happy. And of course, I will keep you posted for the next one. Hopefully, it will be with Sarah. Wendy came into this one, and then Sarah's gonna do the next one with us, and we're gonna be talking about purpose. So I'm sure she's gonna share lots of insight from her recent changes and her rerouting of the journey, which will be super cool to follow on from what we've spoken about today as well. So yes, we will keep the squad vibes going, and I'll see you next time, my people. Thank you, Wendy.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.